of that. Have you seen Soul?
I have seen the beginning of Soul.
Oh, you haven't watched the rest of Soul?
I was really tired and I went to bed.
Oh,
so I need to go back.
That's a good movie.
I need to go. Is it? Yeah. I mean,
it's good. Now it's one that I don't know what kids are going to get out of it. I really don't.
Really?
Because this is very much geared towards older people's, but not like in bawdiness or anything like that. Just the message and all of that stuff is very sort of.
Maybe instead of watching 2.5 Men, we'll watch Soul.
Yeah, I would say that's probably a good idea.
Like, what happened? I came home last night.
2.5 Men.
I came and Michelle was watching 2.5 Men, and I have it's one of those moments where I would normally just have assumed that she couldn't reach the remote.
Well, that's what I'm assuming.
She was so comfortable that she's just not getting up, Yeah.
Because
that's kind of
whatever.
When it's funny, whatever. It's got Ashton Kutcher and he's good looking.
Okay, so this is post Charlie Sheen.
Yeah. I need to go back and watch
post Tiger Blood.
That transition. I've watched lots of episodes of 2.5 Men, but I've never seen the transition period.
Didn't they kill him in that?
Yeah,
like he dies. Not really.
In in the finale, it appears that he's still alive.
Like he faked his death to get away from his brother or whatever.
I don't know. I told you I didn't see the transition.
Yeah, good point.
Clearly, I mean, it's not like Friends where I've seen every episode like 16 times because anytime I travel, it's what's on in the hotel room that evening when I get back.
Well, there's 700 episodes.
Well, there's a lot of episodes of 2.5 Men.
But they only show the same 10 or so.
I
get it. Some of them aren't rich.
We ended up sitting down and so I sat down and started watching 2.5 Men. I think I sat down with I was intending to change the channel to watch something else, and then something funny happened, and then we just started.
Not watching. On the show.
No, it was in the show. And like 2 hours later, it's midnight, and I said, "We've got to go to bed." Like
you're binge watching 2.5 Men.
Totally watching, yeah.
And you've only seen first half of Soul. Come on.
This is what I'm saying.
Your watch priorities are way out of whack. And season 3 of Cobra Kai just dropped.
Oh, it's terrible. I couldn't make it through the first episode of Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai is terrible, but 2.5 Men is hilarious.
That is a jewel of a show. 2.5 Men. It's a
you
wonderful.
Heard it here, folks.
It's a wonderful show. It's underappreciated.
A lovely Pat Boone is a beautiful genius if everything is all right.
When's the last time you watched 2.5 Men?
Years. I haven't seen any of the Ashton Kutcher
ones. Oh no! See, the ones with Ashton Kutcher are great.
Oh, because Ashton Kutcher is freaking amazing.
He's pretty good.
Okay.
No, he's got great comedic timing. He's not like I don't know. I think I can remember the name of the guy who's the guy who transcends Alan goes back. The first movie I ever saw him in, I think, was. Are
you talking about John Cryer?
Yes, John Cryer. But what was the first movie he was in? He wasn't part of he wasn't part of the Brat Pack, but he was in.
He was adjacent to the Brat Pack. He was. Was he in? He was Ducky in Pretty in Pink.
Right.
Cocky.
Now. I've now completed the circle of we've traveled all around why Jason should hand in his man card. Being able to know that John Cryer was in Pretty in Pink.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's an 80s movie. It's a good movie.
It was a good movie. I actually don't even
with
remember.
The problematic Getty Watanabe stuff.
I don't even remember the plot line from that movie.
Oh, yeah. Girl comes of age and is ignored by her family. I mean,
Breakfast Club, Class.
Oh wait, that was 16 Candles. I just been. Wow. Pretty in Pink. I don't remember now.
See,
because I was squishing it together with 16 Candles.
But Ducky wasn't that pretty? That was pretty.
I think that's Pretty in Pink.
Yeah.
Though, yeah.
Molly Ringwald. Molly Ringwald. Thank you. Anyway,
and that's why. I mean, the only reason I squished them together is because Molly Ringwald's in both. I bet you there's like not even any kind of similarity between them otherwise.
But Charlie Sheen, his character is just kind of like, bleh. You're like, you don't really like that guy. I mean, he's likable, but like you're kind of like also like you feel like, he's kind of not a nice guy,
scummy dude. Yeah,
yeah, he's like a nice guy, but not a nice guy. Anyway, kind of like me. But the Ashton Kutcher role is actually really very likable, funny, but not in like a jerky kind of way. I don't know. I'm clearly not selling you on, but this is where I get to the point where I don't care.
I'm coming to this
because
with some
it's good
prejudices.
You don't have to not. You do not have to like it. It's fine. It will be good on its own. Can't tell you how relieved I am. Even without you benefiting.
I mean, you do you. I mean, hey, some people juggle geese.
Do they though?
Yeah, it's a Firefly reference.
So, so I'm going to watch Soul.
Yes, please do.
Without my pipe.
And well, that's a shame. Because there's like jazz in it, and like
I know.
When is there a better time for a pipe than jazz? It seemed like there was something else I watched recently that was very good. Oh well, I don't remember.
No, like, yeah, got nothing.
I'm not going to sit here and make people wait till I remember it. So no, you can fast forward through this part. But the Christmas season was a season of watching a bunch of stuff, and because there's the new Mandalorian, of course, which was astoundingly wonderful.
So good, right?
That's Star Wars now. It's the original trilogy, and it's that. And I don't, and I think we've already talked about this, but I'm still. I watched a couple of the Clone Warses, and while I'm not,
you say Clone Wars is
yeah, it's like the Sackville Bagginses, but and I haven't made it to. I think I need to get. So many of these kind of shows, the first season, maybe the first season and a half, are kind of a slog because they're kind of setting up the universe and introducing characters, and it doesn't really get going for a little while. And I think that's where I am in the Clone Wars series, because it's not compelling me to keep watching.
I need to give you the cheat sheet.
Yeah, you mentioned that you had some, like I was going to say like, well, I'll see it the way that they intended it, but apparently that's not working out. I need to give you you need to send me the cheat sheet, and we'll make the cheat sheet available to
I think I have a photo
our Patreon listeners. Psych, we don't have any. That's PSYCH. Psych. Especially with Ahsoka Tano showing up in the show, and I like the concept of her character. Like I like the idea of her.
I like the idea of her.
The application so far in Clone Wars has been lacking. I don't know. She just seems like a gimmick at this point. I know that her story gets much more nuanced and important or whatever, but right now she just seems like, she seems like Orko from He-Man or it's just kind of there's no depth to her so far.
Back too.
Yeah. Well, we have so many mascots for this show. At some point we need to have one of those big posters that has a whole bunch of references. And
so I will try to find this list after our episode.
Because I want to learn more about it, because she's going to have her own show later on, which will be cool. And I like Rosario Dawson and what they did with her. She was very cool in that episode of Mandalorian. But yeah, I want to get more backstory on her. And right now it's just like, I'm not feeling, and I don't know, the whole goof around the battle droids being like wacky is kind of off-putting a little.
I mean, It's a little like comic relief, though, right? Like,
yeah, but these things are like murder droids.
I know that's true,
but they're wacky.
That's true.
It's just I don't get that.
There was some like comedic element to them though in episode 1. Remember? Even episode 2.
And we can get into why episode 1 was awful if you like.
But I mean,
and that was one of them.
That's the way they were always sort of portrayed. Was
Roger,
like there was like, yeah, Roger, and
what are you doing, you wise guy? Rah, 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 pew pew. You know.
I don't think they ever said that.
They got close. One said that doesn't compute.
That doesn't compute. Shoot him. Right? Isn't that what they said?
50s robot.
I found it. I think I found it.
2187. You go and get her. I'll hold them here.
I don't know why but this only looks like it's one sheet. That could be a problem.
This is a lot more episodes than appears to be on your sheet there.
Well, see, the thing is, I had to cross tabulate. So like I had this sheet.
Cross tabulate.
And it's not really cross tabulate. Cross reference.
Put some work into this.
Cross reference it so that I had 2 operating lists. I think I've been through this. Like we had 2 lists. One was here's the order of episodes historically, like timeline wise, as they occurred in real time.
There's some flashback episodes and stuff like that, I guess.
A lot of that, yeah.
Yeah.
And then here are the episodes that are it was categorized by like type. This is an episode about the clones, and is this an episode about Jedi? Like, is this like there's like 3 different like battle? Is it a battle episode?
Is this a Joey episode?
It's a Joey episode, right? And then also like, does it move the plot along? Like, is it a critical?
Well, when I was watching Babylon 5, they called him a wham episode. It's like it's one that furthers the big plot. You know, is it
do they know it's
self-contained episode or right? Do they know it's Ahsoka Tano Roger? But I thought of the other thing I saw that was really good, the Queen's Gambit.
Oh, Michelle liked that too. I haven't seen it yet. It's good. It's good. Yeah. It's really good. I have not seen it.
And it's not like it's a show that has chess at the center of it, but that's not like, you don't have to be like chess person to like, this is a show for chess people. It's not really, it's a show for human people, not chess people. This is a show. If you do a lot of push-ups, this show is like right up your alley.
I think I know where the list is at home.
Okay, cool. I do want to do some homework before the Ahsoka show comes out.
Yeah,
Ahsoka show.
But the Mandalorian, we don't really have time on this this episode to talk about Mandalorian, but we should talk about that at some point.
Yeah, like what happened.
All that, and also the controversy, the brewing controversy over bringing it into Galaxy's Edge.
Is it coming into Galaxy's Edge?
Well, it kind of has to. Because think of what you just said. Just think about what you said about 5 minutes ago. And you said there's episode 1. I mean, not episode. You said there's the original trilogy.
And then there's Mando.
Right. And what do you...
But Galaxy's Edge...
What does that mean? No, forget that for a second.
Okay. Well, I mean...
You care about it because there are these characters in story that resonate and...
Right.
Right. Disney, of course, like that's what they want you to see.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to come to the park to experience the stories and to see the characters.
And these are ongoing characters. This is something that's happening now, right? We're between... So there's talk of changing the timeline of Galaxy's Edge and making it right after Return of the Jedi.
A little bit and saying,
I'm perfectly fine with that.
Because the one nice thing you have going is the Millennium Falcon and the whole Smuggler's Run scenario.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of can really stand.
It's timeless. It can go anywhere.
Yeah, right. Because there's no Chewbacca and there's no Han Solo and there's no none of that.
Well, there's Chewbacca, but I mean,
Chewbacca's not in the. No, he's not on the smart. He's not there.
They talk about him.
They reference. They refer to him, right? But remember,
I thought that he showed up in like a cutscene or something.
In Force Awakens, Solo doesn't have the Millennium Falcon.
Right.
They haven't gotten it back yet.
Yeah.
So it could totally be that he's like, it's just the period of time where Han Solo doesn't even own the Millennium Falcon. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, I'm just saying, like, there's things that they can do to make it fit with that period of time between.
Rise of the Resistance is going to be a little harder to.
They're screwed on that one. Like that one.
Yeah. I mean, Kylo Ren is the point of that, and
I think that's where you're just going to have to accept that
and there's a hard built, newfangled X-wing as part of this, so you kind of.
Oh, you mean?
I mean, you walk right by one, and Poe flies it, supposedly, and
right. No, that whole thing is going to have to be, but that's okay.
I mean, you can put different helmets on all the stormtroopers, and maybe goof in certain ways, and I guess you could turn Kylo into Darth Vader, maybe.
But here's the question:
I don't know how you would reskin that.
Does the land? Because I guess we're talking about this now. Does the land need to, when you walk into the land, when you transport yourself to Galaxy's Edge, does the land itself, like, fully and completely need to be in the same space time period, like everything is happening?
Do all the things need to match up?
Correct. Because we don't really know what Galaxy's Edge is anyway. It's this forced.
Batuu is
nothing.
Brand new. We don't. Yeah.
It means nothing. We all agree it should have been Tatooine anyway. I think we can all agree that it should have been Mos Eisley and
Mos Espa or something.
Yeah. But
I think having to. I will say that.
Well, they wanted to have this place that any character would fit into, or even new characters would fit into. But
I don't have a problem with new characters. I think that changing the time of the land, but having that be, I don't know, because they take a different approach to this and to Avatar than they do with anything else. Because like Fantasyland is like fantasy in general, right? Exactly. And Tomorrowland is tomorrow.
Who the heck knows what Tomorrowland is?
Right. And I mean, because Tomorrowland Speedway is there when it's using what? Yeah, never mind. What kind of tomorrow is that? Like tomorrow, next Thursday? Is that what the kind of tomorrow that is? But like there you got Carousel of Progress with like you and I both have VR goggles that kick the crap out of the future VR goggles that are in that show. But then you also have the Tron lightsaber, but that's kind of present day, isn't it? Because that took place so it doesn't matter. The point is that they're more general.
Star Wars land. They need to just call it Star Wars land.
But once they made it Galaxy's Edge, and then once they made it Avatar,
but Galaxy's Edge could be scrubbed away.
Pandora, whatever.
It could be scrubbed away.
Yeah,
I mean, really, it can be. Just call it everything. Like my family, like my parents have. If you ask them, like, what do you call this area? You know what they're going to say? Star Wars land.
Yeah, everybody calls it Star Wars land. Yeah,
so like, just call it Star Wars land.
But I don't know. I like the idea of it being an immersive, like you're part of the story, and the story has its own. But I mean,
it's already falling apart.
7, 8, and 9 kind of had their own continuity problems already. So
yes, and it's already, and also this way we get a really cool Luke Skywalker back.
Well, let's make sure it's not the CGI crazy abomination that showed up.
I would take the CGI version of Luke Skywalker over the abomination that was Last Jedi any day.
Like just that Luke Skywalker.
Yeah,
yes. I totally agree with that.
I'll take an awesome kick butt version of Luke where he's actually still into the Force.
Yeah, he still thinks it's a good idea.
I'll take that version of him any day over. What was interesting though, like, so you go to Ahsoka, and say, hey, we need to train him, and she's like, no way am I training this dude. Like, he's way too attached to you. I've seen this before. It doesn't end well, right? Okay. Luke comes along. He's like, no problem. I got it.
That's Luke's thing, though, man. Okay, we're going to get into this. This is the extended version of.
I mean, we can stop, or we can like maybe have a bonus. I don't know. Like,
we may have to change this into a bonus episode because
he's such a mensch, man. He's like. He just believes.
Well, he straight up says, talent is squat if you don't have training, and he's right. And that's the thing I always hated about the Jedi, and because when Anakin first was brought for them, and Qui-Gon was there, and they're like, no, we're not training that kid. He's too powerful. He's too scared. He's so let's let him just be a loose cannon out there, and who knows who's going to train him. Yeah, that's a good idea. Well done. Yeah, Yoda. Good job, buddy. That's like the most reckless thing in the world. And then they do the same thing with Grogu, and they're like, he's a Yoda. Like, apparently he's lifting, what were they called? The thing that's now his sigil.
Oh wait.
Giant,
whatever that
giant rhinoceros, giant rhinoceros lifted it in the air, and how? Who knows? I mean, he's a baby. He was doing that, right? And she's like, nope, not gonna train him. Yeah, I'm just gonna let him learn whatever he wants to learn. It's like, at sex ed, what could go wrong? I'm not gonna teach my kid anything about sexuality. That's not gonna cause any problems later. But it's like that. It's terrible. And, but Luke, and that's the thing, is that Luke has always been the aberration when it came to Jedi, because, and I don't even know if we've talked about this, because it seems like I bring this up to pretty much anybody who will sit still for long enough. But,
Luke bolted to the chair. So,
but this Kermit, never mind. Okay, so you got Anakin, and they say Anakin's going to bring balance to the Force. And I guess in a way he did, because he killed all of the Jedi until there were 2. And there's 2 Sith.
I don't think that's what they thought.
Go, balance.
We didn't mean we didn't mean that kind of balance.
Not a numbers kind of balance. But the Jedi are just as much jerks as the Sith are. And because it's the old, it's not good side versus bad side. It's not dark side versus light side. It's order versus chaos. That's all that is. Mm-hmm. And one is not necessarily inherently better than the other, because they're both extremes. Right. And so you have Luke, who shows up, and he's just learning about the Force, and he's all about being light side and Empire Strikes Back. But when he shows up in Return of the Jedi, he's decked out in black, for one. Mm-hmm. He force chokes those 2 Gamorrean guards. Mm-hmm. He could have mind tricked them. They're Gamorrean guards. He went for the choke. He and Vader are the only ones who use the force choke that we see in the movies.
Yep.
Maybe it's a Skywalker thing. Who knows? But the point is,
does Kylo do it? No, Kylo doesn't do any force.
I don't think. It's hard to tell what he's doing.
Yeah, he's just like mad all the time.
But I mean, he's got Skywalker blood in him. Mm-hmm, so that's true. He's so Luke goes up there. He does use the mind trick on Bib Fortuna, but he's dark Jediing all over the place in that movie. And at the end, and this is something that I've always said, is that in Empire Strikes Back, when Yoda is training him and he goes, but is the dark side stronger? Yoda is a little too quick and going, no, quicker and more seductive. Shut up. We don't talk about that.
Sleep. I must sleep. I must die. I'm just going to go die.
It's not because it's not. Okay.
I'm dying. I can't answer your question because I'm dying.
Right. And so in Jedi, he's fighting Vader and holding his own, because God knows Vader will whip somebody's butt. But it isn't until Vader goes, well, what about twin sister? If you won't turn to the dark side,
and then he loses
she will. Right. And that's when he goes.
It's one of my favorite
nuts.
moments. It's one of my favorite moments when he just starts hauling.
And he's more Sith than the other two combined in that moment. Mm-hmm. And it is not knowledge and defense that's wailing on a Darth Vader that's got his hand up. He's going, God, stop. And he's like, but at the end, he's like, hey, never mind. I'm not going to do this. And he's like sort of tap dances back and forth between the light side and the dark side. And I think that I would have loved to, what I really wanted to see in the sequels, whatever you call it, 7, 8, and 9, what I really wanted to see was Luke taking a brand new look at the Force and saying, you know what, the Jedi didn't have it either. And I got so excited in the previews of The Last Jedi when he said it's time for the Jedi to end in the preview. I was like, hey, we're going to get that. We're going to get that. He's going to see it. You know what? Jedi, screw the Sith. Both of them have no idea what they're talking about. This is the new thing. I don't know what he was going to call it. Cool Force people. I don't know. But that he was going to take that tack, right? That it was going to be now I'm going to teach you about the dark side. I'm going to teach you about the light side. And we're going to stop talking about light and dark. They're not light and dark. It's just different aspects of the Force. There's a chaos side, there's an order side. And it would have been really cool if we had changed the complete sort of paradigm of the Force and what a Force user does and what a Force adept does and how they use it or whatever. And that was going to be cool. But no, we didn't get that. It was Luke sucking down green milk from the crazy thing and being a curmudgeon and Rian Johnson just, okay. I've used the term already in this show, but yes and is a concept in, I know you're aware of it, but there's a concept, in case other people are not, in improvisational comedy or in improvisational anything called yes and. And that basically is when the guy that's on the stage with you starts a thing, you have to go with that thing.
Yeah.
Right. He says, hey, look at that monkey. There is a monkey over there that you now have to address.
Yeah.
You can't be like, there's no monkey over there. That kills it and it destroys everything. And you're a jerk and nobody wants to work with you again. Rian Johnson got set up with a whole bunch of stuff by J.J. Abrams. Mm-hmm. Not all of it I agree with. Don't get me wrong. I didn't like the J.J. ones either. But Rian Johnson basically refused to yes and anything that came his way from that movie. And specifically, I don't know that there's a term for it, but I like to call it no butting. But he just flat out said no to absolutely everything that was set up for him by J.J. Abrams. And then J.J. Abrams comes back with episode 9 that should have been one movie, but has to be like 3 movies so that he can undo all the crap that Rian Johnson was like watching this bizarre cat fight play out over 3 movies between these two people. And it was awful.
Yep.
Awful. Every single one of them was awful.
Yeah. That's why I'm hoping that the rumors are that there's internal battles happening in Disney and around Lucasfilm for control of the storyline. Mm-hmm. And how and you'll be much more in tune with these things than me, but how they can use, and they've already begun to do this, but use the what is it, the worlds in between, the in-between worlds, the worlds in between. It's like there's this time travel component that exists
in Star Wars.
Yeah, and it's part of canon, and we've actually seen it very recently. And it was made canon was it in Rebels? I think it's in Rebels. There's an episode in Rebels where this is introduced, and it's canon. And it also explains like that experience that Rey was having, where she was hearing all the voices speaking to her, and they were kind of like transcending time and space, right? Well, in the old Rebels episode, you hear Rey's voice. coming from the future as well.
But it's a force thing.
It's a force.
I mean, force
thing that you use the force to access
prescience and all that.
To access this like space between the worlds between. I think you can look it up.
Well, I mean, that's,
you watch the most recent.
Yeah, just the future you see. I mean, the Legos, the holiday episode recently. Oh, I did. I saw that. Is it in there?
Yes. Like that's the whole thing. They go to this place. She accesses this time travel portal.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So this thing exists.
Yeah.
So this exists, and this is canon. And this is
so the Lego thing is canon.
Yes. Yeah, that's my son Alex tells me is that it's canon. If you go to like the like Star Wars site or whatever, So and before all this happened, I heard a couple rumors about this internal struggle happening there, and that there is a movement afoot in the well, you'll like this part in the Jon Favreau camp, and Feige camp to basically undo, to essentially 789. Take 789 and park it over here, like that happens some
it's other a Kelvin timeline,
parallel time. Yes, like that's not actually that happened. Yes, it happened in this other time, but this is the track. This is actually
they're gonna have to do something, because there's a lot. Because there's going to be a bad end for Grogu if 789 are real.
He's gone. He's never like
he gets murdered by
to live like 900 years.
Kylo Ren.
So I mean, right. So if you want Grogu to live,
I do like the idea though that that's the grave that Luke is looking at the end of episode 7, because he's standing in front of a thing that looks like it may not be a grave, but it looks like one, because there's this rock, this slab that he's standing in front of. It looks like he's, I don't know, not praying necessarily, but standing over a grave. Yeah, at the very end when Rey finds him and he's up on top of the mountain or whatever, and he's just over in the corner of that little clearing.
There's a grave there?
And that's what it looks like, a grave. It may not be a grave. I mean, it looks natural enough that maybe it's not, but it could easily be. Mm-hmm. And I like the idea that might be Grogu's grave.
Oh, stop. That's terrible.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's, you want, but the thing is that nothing that Luke does indicates that
Grogu ever existed, or there's
any kind of like
connection
to do right by Grogu posthumously or whatever. He just is kind of this jerk.
I like the idea of them saying like, no, that trilogy, yes, it stands on its own. It happened, but and so then you could still have it in Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
Because that just occurred in a different parallel universe. It's like the Pixar characters.
Yeah.
Although they all exist in the same universe, right? Just different time periods.
Have we established that? I think
there's a really good amount of like, I think Pixar actually did finally admit to it, that everything
that they
happens.
Have decided that all of the, like if you wait long enough, you could meet Merida and I don't know, not Buzz Lightyear.
You have to go back in time far enough to meet Merida, right? And then like it's time thing.
Yeah.
I think I need to like do a little more like refreshing of the knowledge tree on this one, and then I think we should talk about it more.
Yeah,
there's a lot of good stuff to this. We'll nerd out a little bit more, and you should do some Google searching on I think it's called like the Worlds in Between or something like that.
Worlds in Between. See, I used to be like, Star Wars guru guy, back when there was just one trilogy and a couple of books. I have lost track.
It's the World Between Worlds. World Between Worlds.
World Between Worlds.
It's also known as Vergent Scatter.
Version Scatter?
Vergence.
Vergence.
Was a mystical plane within the Force that served as a collection of doors and pathways existing between time and space, linking all moments in time together.
Now, I would be like the actual time travel thing that always kind of bothers me. That always seems like a crutch, but I would be okay with like going into like a forced trance and you perceive things that happened before maybe happening, because Yoda talks about seeing the future, and certainly the Emperor talks about how he has foreseen whatever, and obviously he's not always right, and so that's kind of a fun part of it too, is that maybe it showed you something that was completely wrong. But and we need to get into theories on time travel, like which muvies do we think nailed how time travel would actually be. Because I think which one is it?
I'm still utterly confused over the Avengers time travel.
I think that one's the closest.
I mean,
that one and
I have
Primer.
to take a piece of paper and draw it to actually begin to understand it.
Right.
How certain things, because now that has actually set off these other parallel paths, like Loki.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to go on with that, but like time travel is. We like to think of it in this sort of, and this is kind of rehashing a lot of stuff they said in Endgame, but we like to think of it as the Back to the Future thing, where you can go back in time and you can change something. But I maintain that you can't. You can't go back in time. Like, it's impossible for you to go back in time and kill your dad. How do we know that? Because your dad didn't die back then. That we think of it in this kind of arrogant way that we are the 0 point. And so when we go back in time, even though the things we do when we go back in time is our personal future, present, and extending forward, the universe itself has a 0 point of the Big Bang. And so when we get to 1955, you show up and you do the things that you do. And then when we get to 1973, you're born and you grow up until the point where you disappear. Now you go back to 1955 and that's in your future, but to the universe at large, that's still 1955. And all the things that happened already happened. Even before you were born.
That's the Avengers style.
Exactly. And that's why I say that's the one they do some stuff that I don't know that they
things, but I mean, that's like, there are things that they alter. I mean, taking the stones. I mean,
I wish that we had established. Well, no, the taking the stones actually works because they put them right back so that the people that find them can still find them.
Right.
But the thing that they don't tie up exactly is Captain America fighting himself. Like, he doesn't, it would have been nice for him to mention, I thought that was Loki this whole time. I thought that was Loki that I fought. And it was me the whole time. But that's one that seems like it's something that didn't happen
in
before.
That universe. And that time it hadn't happened. It never happens on that timeline. That's the thing. It never happens on that. Like, the minute, I think there's like a tearing that happens. Like, when you go back, the minute you go back and alter one thing, you have now like splintered off. And maybe
that's the Doc Brown, right?
Well, maybe they
1985A.
Well, it's not. Yeah, but you're not. I think to keep it in line with your thinking, like, you never changed the future that you left. All you're doing is changing the future on this splintered parallel track. Not even parallel necessarily. It's like this other track. So yes, you can go back. Assume you can go back. You can go back and you can alter things, but it's never going to alter things on this timeline from which you came. It's only going to alter the timeline this new timeline that you're creating.
Yeah, and see, I maintain that you don't create a new timeline. That everything you did in the past happened even before you went back to do them.
See, I think
because they took place in the past.
If you kind of go with the belief that, like, there's an infinite number in any moment in time with anything, there's an infinite number of like possible outcomes.
Yeah.
Like we're having this same conversation an infinite number of times.
Yeah.
Like,
Problem is, I don't buy that at all.
I don't either. I know, but like, I also don't buy the whole Avengers time travel thing. So like, it's
granted, but my point being is that the way that time travel is portrayed in the Avengers Endgame thing kind of makes the most sense. The only thing that doesn't is that and it doesn't necessarily not make sense either, because it's just not explained. It's not sort of folded into the time travel theory of that movie. Is Captain America fighting himself? He doesn't. If he had tied up that string with a little bit of a, you know what, that's so weird. It was me. It was me the whole time. I thought it was Loki. Weird, right? And and then we just moved on, and that would have been fine. But
right, and he could have just said to him like, "Hey, it's me." It's like I don't know, tell him what color underwear he's wearing or something. Like I don't know, something.
Well, he tells him that Bucky's alive.
Yeah, but
and so that's the other thing. I guess that's the thing that screws it up for me, is that he tells him that, and why would Loki know that? So there's no way he thought that was Loki. But maybe if he got conked out, he just doesn't remember.
I don't know
him saying that.
No, see, now I need to go back and watch that too.
Yeah.
And I still have 2.5 Men to finish.
Nah, you really don't, though.
It's really good.
They're.
It's really good, and that.
I don't think it'll
King
surprise you, though. Yeah, that's the thing. King of Queens.
And everybody.
Ooh, have you watched? Speaking of King of Queens, have you watched any of Leah Remini's thing on Scientology? No. That's really good.
Really,
it is really good.
Like, why was there a connection to that? Wait, how does that happen?
You said King of Queens, right?
King of Queens, yes.
Yeah, she's in it.
Really?
Leah Remini, yeah. She's, what's his name's wife.
So it's not a documentary. It's like a...
No, her thing is a documentary, because she used to be a Scientologist.
Oh.
And she's talking to people who got out, and she's,
interesting.
talking to... is it
on Netflix?
I think that is where it is, yeah.
Okay.
Good stuff.
I'll add that to the list. We need to maintain a list somewhere. Can you do something about that? Can you
You still need to watch Community.
Isn't there something we can do on Facebook, like in the Facebook group or something, or on the Facebook page?
Does it have a running list of?
Yeah. Shouldn't we do that?
I think we can.
I think it'd be good.
I'll work on that.
Mm-hmm.